That evening, the sky was orange. And right there on that road, Rebecca held a walking stick tight to her chest like a trophy. The stick was not fancy. It was wooden from years of use, with a small curve at the top where the owner's palm rested every day. It had scratches, it had dirt, it had history. To Laura, that stick was not wood. It was her eyes. But Rebecca didn't care. "See this blind woman," Rebecca said, breathing fast, eyes shining with a wicked excitement. "If you're no longer useful, your walking stick is still useful." Laura's mouth trembled. Her cloudy eyes looked in Rebecca's direction, but not really. She lifted both hands like a child trying to protect her face. "Please," Laura cried. "My daughter, I cannot see. That stick is my legs. That stick is my life." Rebecca smiled wider. Then she did something that still makes my stomach twist. She pushed Laura. Not a small push, not an oops push. A hard shove that sent the old woman flying backward, arms raised, wrapper flaring, feet leaving the ground for one terrible second, until her body crashed into the bush beside the road. Laura landed with a painful thud and a strangled cry. "Ah, help me! Somebody help me!" Her voice bounced off the trees. It sounded big and loud, but the road was empty. Rebecca stood above the bush, laughing like she had just heard a joke at a party. "You want help?" she mocked. "Call your eyes first." Laura stretched her hand out, touching leaves, searching for the road again. Her fingers shook, her cheeks were wet. "God will judge you," she sobbed. "God will—" Rebecca cut her off. She grabbed the walking stick, hugged it tighter, and ran. Her slippers slapped the dusty ground, her breath came in sharp bursts, her cornrows were rough and scattered, and her blouse looked like it had been washed too many times and finally gave up. But her face was proud. She was proud of what she had done. Behind her, the old blind woman's cries turned into something else. Not only crying, cursing. "You that did this to me," Laura shouted, her voice shaking with pain and anger. "You that took the stick from my hand. You will not sleep well. You will not enjoy what you stole. The ground will reject you." Rebecca did not stop. She did not even look back. Because in her mind, she wasn't running away from an old woman. She was running toward a new life. Toward money. Toward the kind of wealth that makes people greet you with two hands. And the name of that dream was Lyon. Rebecca reached Lyon's compound in Ekpoma just as the streetlights began to blink on, one by one, like sleepy eyes. His house was small, but newly painted. Not a mansion, not even close. But you could tell he was trying. A plastic chair sat by the doorway. A generator rested behind the house like a tired animal. The air smelled like kerosene. Rebecca knocked loudly. "Lyon, open! Open now!" The door swung open fast. Lyon stood there in a faded singlet and shorts, eyes wide, like someone who had been waiting for bad news. Rebecca stepped inside, breathing heavily, chest rising and falling. For a second, she didn't speak. She just lifted the walking stick with both hands and presented it like a gift. "I got it," she said. Lyon's face changed immediately. It was like fear, hunger, and relief all fought inside him at the same time. You got it," he whispered. Rebecca nodded quickly. "From that blind old woman. I pushed her into the bush. She was crying like a baby. But I didn't look back." She said it like she was describing buying bread. Lyon swallowed hard and reached for the stick. His fingers touched the wood, and he flinched. Not because it was hot, because something about it felt wrong. Cold, heavy, like it carried a person's tears inside. Rebecca didn't notice. She only leaned close, her voice low and excited. "This is what the spiritualist demanded, right? For you to become rich. So now, it's done. Lyon, we are close. We are close." She smiled, eyes bright. In her head, she could already see the wedding, a big one. Aso Ebi, loud music, friends begging her for small money, people who used to ignore her, now calling her madam. Lyon stared at the stick. Then he looked at Rebecca. "You're sure nobody saw you?" Rebecca rolled her eyes. "Please, that road is always empty around that time. Who will see? Even if they see, will they fight me? For a blind old woman?" Lyon's throat moved again. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He only nodded slowly, like a man agreeing to a sentence he cannot escape. "Okay," he said. "Go and wash your feet." Rest. Rebecca blinked, confused. That's it? You're not happy? Lyon forced a small laugh that did not reach his eyes. I'm happy, he said. I'm just thinking. Rebecca shrugged. Think fast. We don't have time. You promised me. After this, no more suffering. No more looking for rent money. No more borrowing. I'm tired. She dropped onto his small sofa like she owned the house already. Lyon stood there with the stick in his hand, and for the first time, his shoulders shook a little. Not from joy, from fear. Because he remembered the old man's words from 2 nights ago, the spiritualist with the white beard and the voice that sounded like dry leaves rubbing together. Bring me what her hand depends on, the old man had said. Bring me the walking stick of a blind elder who still breathes. Then we will talk about riches. Lyon had asked, why? And the spiritualist had smiled. Because some doors do not open with keys, they open with tears. Lyon looked down at the walking stick again, and even though the house was warm, his palm felt icy. Back on that untarred road, Laura was still in the bush. She struggled to sit up, her body shaking. Leaves stuck to her wrapper, dust clung to her skin, her knee throbbed like fire. She kept calling out, voice hoarse. Help me, please, help. Then, slowly, her crying changed. Her voice became steady, sharp, like a knife. You that did this, she said, breathing hard, you will pay. Not because I am powerful, but because God is not sleeping. She pressed her fingers into the dirt like she was holding the earth itself. Let your laughter turn to sorrow, she whispered. Let the same road you used to run become the road that carries your tears. Her face lifted toward the sky she could not see. You will not enjoy what you stole. A gust of wind passed, rustling the tall grass, and then, faintly, a new sound came closer. Footsteps, a young woman's voice. Hello? Mama, I can hear you. Laura froze. Her lips trembled again. Please, she cried, softer now. Please, my daughter. The young woman pushed through the bush and found her. Her name was Sade, a corper posted to a nearby school in Ekpoma. She was coming back from buying bread and groundnuts, and she had heard the shouting from the road. Sade's eyes widened when she saw Laura. Ah, Mama, who did this to you? Laura shook her head weakly. I cannot see. She pushed me. She took my stick. Sade crouched down fast, careful and gentle. Okay, don't cry. I'm here. She helped Laura stand, slowly brushing leaves off her wrapper. Can you walk? Laura's hands reached out like she was swimming in air. My stick is gone. Sade swallowed. Hold my arm, she said. I will be your stick for now. Laura held her tightly, too tightly, like she was afraid the world would drop her again. As Saad guided her toward the road, Laura's mouth kept moving, not thanking, not talking, cursing, over and over. Saad looked scared, but she did not stop, helping, because some curses don't sound like magic. They sound like pain that has nowhere else to go. That night, Lyon could not eat. Rebecca ate. She even hummed while eating. She sat on the floor with a plate of yam and palm oil, chewing like nothing happened. You'll see, she said with her mouth full. Soon people will be begging us. People will respect us. Lyon kept staring at the walking stick resting in the corner of the room. He imagined the blind woman's hand searching for it. He imagined her falling. He imagined her tears wetting the sand. He imagined her voice, and something inside him whispered, this thing will not end well. Around 11 p.m., Rebecca finally slept. Lyon waited until her breathing became deep. Then he stood up quietly, lifted the walking stick, and stepped outside. The night air was cold. A dog barked in the distance. A mosquito whined near his ear. He moved like a thief, because that's what he was now. The spiritualist shrine was not in town. It was deeper. Past the last row of streetlights, past the small farms, past the place where the road became almost invisible. Lyon took an Okada halfway, then walked the rest because the Okada rider refused to go further. Oga, no vex, the rider said, shaking his head. That place, no pure. Lyon lied with a shaky laugh. My uncle lives there. The rider sped away fast. Lion continued alone, sweat running down his back even though the night was cool. When he finally saw the shrine, his stomach dropped. It was a small mud building surrounded by tall trees. Bones, animal bones, hung on strings near the entrance. A smoky smell floated in the air, thick and bitter. A lantern flickered beside the door, and the spiritualist was already outside, like he had been waiting for him. The old man's beard was white and full, his eyes dark and calm. He wore a loose wrapper and carried something that looked like a small bell. He smiled slowly. "You brought it," he said. Lion's voice cracked. "Yes." He held out the walking stick with both hands. The spiritualist took it like it was a royal staff. He pressed his palm against it and closed his eyes for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Fresh tears," he murmured. "Fresh pain." Lion swallowed hard. "Please, I just want my life to change." The spiritualist looked at him. "Everyone wants their life to change," he said quietly, "but not everyone is ready to pay." Lion's knees felt weak. "I can pay," he whispered. The old man stepped back and pointed inside the shrine. "Enter." Lion entered. The air inside was hot and smoky. A calabash sat in the center. Red cloth covered a small table. Strange markings were drawn on the floor, like a map made by someone who didn't want to be understood. The spiritualist placed the walking stick down carefully. Then he began. He chanted in a low voice. He sprinkled something on the stick. He rang the bell gently. Lion's heart beat so loud he felt it in his throat. After a while, the spiritualist stopped and stared at Lion. Silence filled the room. Then the old man spoke, slow and clear. "In the next few days," he said, "money will come to you like floodwater." Lion's eyes widened. His lips parted, but the old man raised one finger. "Listen well," he said, "because riches always come with rules." Lion nodded quickly, almost crying already. The spiritualist leaned forward, voice dropping like a stone. "You will become extremely rich," he repeated, "but someone you love most, someone you plan to marry, will die for it." Lion's body went cold. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. The spiritualist's eyes did not blink. And Lion's mind flashed to one person instantly: Rebecca. As the old man continued to speak, Lion's knees began to buckle. And that was when the lantern flame flickered hard, like the room itself was holding its breath. Not because of wind. There was no wind inside the shrine. It shook like something unseen had brushed past it. Lion's knees finally gave way. He slumped to the dusty floor, the words still ringing inside his head like a hammer hitting metal. "Someone you love most will die." "No, no, Baba," Lion whispered, his voice cracking. "There must be another way." The spiritualist looked at him without pity. His face did not change. "You came here knowing this was not a prayer house," the old man said calmly. "You did not come to ask God for mercy. You came to bend destiny." Lion crawled closer on his knees, tears already falling. "Take me instead," he begged. "Take my blood. Take my years. Just leave her out of it." The spiritualist shook his head slowly. "It does not work like that," he said. "The sacrifice must be someone whose heart is tied to yours. Someone whose loss will shake your soul. That is how power feeds." Lion's hands trembled. But I will only enjoy the wealth for 2 years," he asked weakly. "Yes," the old man replied, 2 years of abundance. After that," he paused, then said it. "You will die in a mysterious way," Lion screamed. A raw, broken sound tore out of his chest, echoing off the shrine walls. "No, please, cancel it. Cancel everything." The spiritualist stepped back, lifting his hand. "It cannot be undone," he said firmly. "You agreed when you brought the stick. The rules are sealed." Lion pressed his forehead to the ground, sobbing. Images rushed through his mind. Rebecca laughing, Rebecca dreaming of their wedding. Rebecca calling him "my future billionaire." Her face filled his head until he couldn't breathe. "This money," Lion cried, "it will not even be enjoyed." The spiritualist said nothing. He only picked up the walking stick again and placed it upright against the wall. "Go," he said. "When it starts, you will know." Lion walked home like a man already dead. The road felt longer. The night felt darker, every sound made him jump. When he reached his compound, the house was quiet. Rebecca was asleep. He stood at the door, watching her chest rise and fall. For a long time, he did nothing. Then he sat on the floor and cried. Not small tears, ugly tears, the kind that soak your shirt and leave your eyes burning. "I did this," he whispered. "I did this to you." Morning came too quickly. Rebecca woke up smiling. She stretched, yawned, and turned toward Lyon. "Good morning, rich man," she joked. Lyon forced a smile. His mouth obeyed, his eyes did not. Rebecca noticed. "Why do you look like someone beat you in your dream?" she asked, laughing lightly. Lyon shook his head. "I didn't sleep well." Rebecca waved it off. "Money worries, right? Don't worry, everything will change. Soon." She said it with confidence, with hope. Lyon's chest tightened. That day, strange things started happening. A man came to Lyon's shop asking to buy land. Cheap land Lyon had inherited years ago and forgotten about. The man offered a shocking amount. Cash, no negotiation. Then another call came, and another. By evening, Lyon was holding more money than he had ever seen in his life. His hands shook. Rebecca screamed with joy when she saw it. "I told you," she shouted, jumping. "I told you, this is it." She hugged him tight. Lyon froze. Her arms felt warm, too warm. That night, Lyon couldn't eat again. Rebecca ate twice. She talked about clothes, about a new phone, about inviting her friends. Lyon listened quietly. Inside his head, a clock started ticking. 2 days later, the night screamed. It was deep into the night when Rebecca suddenly sat upright on the bed. She screamed. A sharp, terrifying scream that sliced through the silence. "Lyon," she cried, "something touched me." Lyon jumped up. "What? What is it?" Rebecca clutched her chest, eyes wide. "My heart," she gasped. "It's burning." She fell back. Her body stiffened. Lyon shook her. "Rebecca! Rebecca!" She did not answer. Her mouth opened like she wanted to say something, but no sound came out. By morning, she was gone. Just like that. The doctor said sudden death, the neighbors whispered. Rebecca was buried 2 days later. Lyon stood beside the grave like a statue. No tears came, because his tears were already finished. As the sand covered her coffin, his mind replayed the old blind woman's voice. "You will not enjoy what you stole." Money kept coming. Lyon became rich, very rich. Houses, cars. People started greeting him differently, calling him chairman. He donated money, built boreholes, sponsored children. People praised him. But at night, he saw Rebecca. In his dreams, standing, staring, not smiling. 2 years passed. On the exact month Rebecca died, Lyon went to the market square to share food with the poor. Cameras followed him. People clapped. Then suddenly, he screamed. "I did it," he shouted. "I sent her. I sent Rebecca to take the stick." People froze. "He's mad," someone shouted. Lyon ran toward the road. Cars honked. Too late. Silence followed. At Lyon's burial, the church was full. Then something unexpected happened. An old blind woman stood up. It was Laura. She walked slowly to the altar. She took the microphone. Her voice was calm. "Learn," she said. "This is what happens when greed replaces mercy." The church went silent, and that was where the story paused. Because some endings are not the end. They are warnings. As Laura returned the microphone, her hand shook slightly, and she whispered something that only the nearest person heard. The church did not breathe for a long moment after Laura dropped the microphone. People sat frozen on the wooden benches, eyes following the old blind woman as she turned slowly, her stick tapping softly against the tiled floor. Tap, tap, tap. Each sound felt louder than the pastor's voice. Saad stood near the back of the church. Yes, that Saada. The same young woman who had found Laura in the bush 2 years earlier. The same one who had taken her home, cleaned her wounds, and listened to her cry through the night. Saad's skin prickled. Because when Laura passed her, the old woman leaned slightly toward her and whispered something. Not loud, not dramatic, just 4 words. "It has not ended." Said's heart skipped. Before she could ask what Laura meant, the old woman had already moved on, guided by another woman from the church. The pastor cleared his throat nervously. Let us, let us close this service with prayer, he said, voice shaking. But the prayer did not settle anything. Outside, people gathered in tight groups, whispering. Did you hear what she said? She cursed them. No, it was their own greed. God forbid this kind of wealth. Sade stood alone, her thoughts spinning. She remembered that night clearly. The bush, the blood on Laura's knee, the way the old woman had cried, not like someone begging for help, but like someone mourning something already lost. That night, after Sade helped her home, Laura had sat on a low stool and said something strange. Something Sade had almost forgotten. Some people think evil ends when the body dies, Laura had said quietly. But some things move like smoke. You breathe them in without knowing. Now, standing at Lyon's burial, Sade felt that smoke again. Life moved on. At least that's what people told themselves. Lyon's properties were locked up. His accounts were frozen. His name faded slowly from conversations. Rebecca's grave became quiet too. Grass grew tall around it. But something else began to happen. Small things at first, strange things. A young man who bought Lyon's old car crashed it the same week. A woman who moved into Rebecca's unfinished shop fell sick. Strong one day, weak the next. Doctors confused. People began to talk. Maybe that blind woman's words are following things. Sade tried not to listen. She focused on her teaching job, focused on lesson plans and noisy children and marking books late into the night. But the dreams started. Dreams where she was back on that untarred road, except this time it wasn't Rebecca running away. It was Laura, running, blind, running without her stick. And every time Sade tried to reach her, the ground opened. She would wake up sweating, heart racing. One evening she couldn't take it anymore. She went to see Laura. Laura's house was small, built with old blocks and patched zinc roofing. A mango tree stood beside it, dropping fruit that nobody picked. When Sade arrived, Laura was sitting outside, sorting beans by touch alone. Her fingers moved with confidence. She smiled before Sade spoke. I knew you would come, Laura said. Sade swallowed. Mama, what did you mean at the burial? Laura sighed and placed the bowl aside. Sit, she said. Sade sat. The old woman faced forward, eyes clouded but alert. Evil does not always finish its journey when the people who started it die, Laura said slowly. Sometimes it looks for new roads. Sade's stomach tightened. New roads? Yes, Laura replied. People think I cursed them because I was angry. They are wrong. She turned slightly toward Sade. I only spoke what I saw. Sade frowned. Saw? Laura smiled sadly. Blind people see different things. Silence stretched between them. Then Laura continued. The walking stick they took was not ordinary, she said. It belonged to my husband before he died. He used it when sickness took his eyes. He warned me never to let it fall into greedy hands. Sade's chest felt heavy. I didn't know, she whispered. Laura nodded. Neither did Rebecca. She paused. Or maybe she did and didn't care. The air felt thick. Mama, Sade asked carefully, is it over now? Laura shook her head slowly. No, she said, because the ritual was completed, the wealth was eaten, and something else was released. Sade's voice trembled. What? Laura leaned closer. A hunger. Sade felt cold. That same night, far away in Benin City, a man woke up screaming. His name was Kelvin, Lyon's cousin. He had been fighting Lyon over property before Lyon died. Fighting hard. Now Lyon was gone, and Kelvin had suddenly inherited something he didn't expect. Money, a lot of it. Kelvin sat upright on his bed, sweating. I don't want this, he whispered, but the money kept coming. And just like Lyon, Kelvin started to change. Back in Ekpoma, Sade walked home slowly after leaving Laura's house. Every shadow looked longer. Every sound felt closer. She kept hearing Laura's words in her head. Some things move like smoke. As she reached her door, she noticed something on the ground. A stick. Wooden. Smooth. With a familiar curve at the top. Sade froze. Her breath caught. She bent slowly and picked it up. It was not Laura's walking stick, but it looked almost exactly like it. Her phone rang suddenly. She screamed and dropped the stick. It was a call from an unknown number. "Hello?" she answered, hands shaking. A man's voice replied, low, strained. "Sade. Please, I need help." She recognized the voice instantly. "Kelvin?" she whispered. "I'm seeing things," he said, "and the stick keeps appearing." Sade closed her eyes, her heart pounded, because she knew. This story was not finished telling itself. Not yet. As Sade looked back at the ground, the stick was no longer there. And from somewhere behind her, a familiar blind voice whispered, "The road has chosen another walker." Sade did not sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the stick. Not lying still, not quiet, moving. She sat on her bed until morning, knees pulled to her chest, listening to the sound of early okadas starting up outside. Life was continuing like nothing had happened. But something had shifted. By 7 a.m., her phone rang again. Kelvin. His voice sounded thinner now, like a rope about to snap. "Sade," he said quickly, "please come. I can't explain everything on the phone." "Where are you?" she asked. "The old family house," he replied. "Benin City. I haven't stepped out since yesterday." Sade hesitated. Every part of her wanted to say no, but another part, the part that still remembered Laura crying in the bush, stood up inside her. "I'm coming," she said. Kelvin's house was too quiet when she arrived. Curtains closed. Gate unlocked. No music, no generator. Kelvin sat on the floor of the living room, his back against the wall. His eyes were red. His beard looked like he hadn't shaved in days. "You look like someone chasing you," Sade said softly. Kelvin laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Something is chasing me," he replied. He pointed to the corner of the room. Sade followed his finger. There was nothing there. "At night," Kelvin continued, "I hear tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Like someone walking slowly. When I look, nothing." Sade swallowed. "And the stick?" Kelvin nodded. "It appears," he said, "sometimes by my bed, sometimes by the door. Yesterday it was right here." He slapped the floor. "I didn't touch it," he added quickly. "I swear." Sade believed him, because fear doesn't lie like that. "Kelvin," she said carefully, "did you take anything that belonged to Lyon?" Kelvin looked away. "Just money," he muttered. "What was left?" Sade's chest tightened. "That money is not clean," she said. "You know that." Kelvin's hands shook. "I didn't kill anyone," he snapped. "I didn't push an old woman." "No," Sade replied, "but you are walking the same road." Silence filled the room. Then Kelvin whispered, "Can I stop it?" Sade thought of Laura, of her calm voice, of her warning. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I know who might." That evening, they went to see Laura. The old woman listened quietly as Kelvin spoke, his voice breaking more than once. When he finished, Laura nodded slowly. "The road remembers footsteps," she said, "even when the walker is gone." Kelvin fell to his knees. "I don't want this wealth," he cried. "Take it away." Laura leaned forward. "Are you ready to let it go?" she asked. Kelvin hesitated, just for a second. Laura sighed. That sigh carried years of disappointment. "Then the road will not let you go either," she said. Outside, the wind rose suddenly, and from far away, tap, tap, tap. Kelvin screamed. As Sade turned toward the sound, she saw it clearly this time. A walking stick, standing upright on the road by itself, waiting. The walking stick stood there, upright, alone, not leaning on a wall, not held by any hand, just standing on the red dust road like it had chosen that spot by itself. Kelvin's scream cut through the evening air. Sade grabbed his arm. "Don't move." The stick did not fall. It did not roll. It only tapped once, softly against the ground. Tap. Laura exhaled slowly, like someone who had seen this moment coming for a long time. "The road has accepted you," she said to Kelvin. "Now it is asking a question." Kelvin's lips trembled. "What question?" Laura turned her blind face toward him. Her voice was calm, but heavy. "Will you drop what you did not earn," she said, "or will you let it carry you where it carried the others?" Kelvin looked at the stick, then at his own hands, then at Sade. Tears ran freely down his face. "I don't want to die," he whispered. "I don't want to run mad." I just wanted my share. Sade stepped forward. Then choose, she said. Right now. For a long second, Kelvin did nothing. The wind picked up again. Dust lifted into the air. The stick tapped twice. Tap. Tap. Kelvin flinched. Okay, he shouted. Okay. He dropped to his knees, right there on the road. I will return the money, he cried. Every kobo. I will give it back. I will give it away. I don't want it. The stick stopped tapping. Silence spread. Slowly the stick tipped and fell flat on the ground. Kelvin sobbed like a child. Laura nodded once. The road has heard you. Sade felt her knees weaken with relief. That night, Kelvin did exactly what he promised. He returned properties, closed accounts, donated money openly, no cameras, no praise. By morning he looked 10 years older, but he was alive. And the tapping stopped. Weeks passed. Nothing strange happened again. No dreams, no shadows, no sticks appearing. People said the curse had ended, but Laura corrected them gently. It was never a curse, she said. It was a lesson. One afternoon, Sade sat beside her under the mango tree. Mama, Sade asked, why didn't it stop with Rebecca and Lyon? Laura smiled sadly. Because greed does not live in one person, she replied. It looks for homes. She tapped the ground lightly with a new stick, simple, plain, harmless. Rebecca laughed because she thought power was louder than mercy, Laura continued. Lyon cried because he thought regret could cancel choice. They both forgot one thing. What? Sade asked. That wealth does not come before character, Laura said. It follows it. Sade nodded slowly. She thought of Rebecca's laugh on that road. Sharp, proud, careless. She thought of Lyon's silence after, heavy, guilty, too late. And she understood. Months later, at a youth program in Ekpoma, Sade stood in front of a small crowd. Teenagers, young couples, hustlers with big dreams. She told them the story, not as gossip, as a warning. Some roads give shortcuts, she said, but they always collect interest. The room stayed quiet, because everyone knew it was true. At the back of the hall, Laura listened with a small smile. When Saad finished, Laura stood slowly. People made space for her. She held the microphone firmly. Young men and women, she said clearly, you have seen the end of Rebecca and Lyon. They wanted to get rich by force. They stepped on mercy. They ignored patience. Her voice did not shake. This was their end, she continued. Let it not be yours. She paused, then added softly, not every open door is yours to enter. The hall stayed silent long after she returned the microphone, because some lessons don't need shouting, they just need truth. If you like this story, comment, share and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.